Welcome to our Rewind the Ages YouTube channel. Today, we're diving into an idea that's, well, it's pretty disruptive. What if our ancient ancestors had technologies that were way beyond what we think they were capable of? We're about to look at some evidence that could literally rewrite the entire timeline of human innovation. All right, let's just jump right in with a question that gets to the absolute core of this. You know that story of progress we all learned in school? The one that goes from cavemen with sticks, step by step, all the way to smartphones? Well, what if that whole story is just plain wrong? Seriously, think about it for a second. What if there are artifacts out there, things so completely out of place in history that they make us question everything we thought we knew? So that's what we're doing today. We are opening the anomaly files. We're going to investigate a whole series of objects from history that, according to the official story, just shouldn't exist. Period. You can think of them as glitches in the matrix of history, little clues that hint at a past that is wildly different from the one we've been told. Now, there's actually a name for these things. They're called OOP arts, which stands for out-of-place artifacts. And let me be clear, we're not talking about your average pottery shard or arrowhead here. No way. These are genuine engineering marvels that just completely defy the logic of their time. We're talking about things like impossible power sources, incredibly complex machines, stuff that whispers about a deep, deep well of knowledge that has been totally forgotten. Okay, so our first case file, it looks like a simple clay pot. Really nothing special at first glance. But what was found inside, it suggests something absolutely revolutionary was discovered thousands of years ago. Let's talk about the Baghdad Battery. So this thing was dug up back in 1938, and it's old, like 2,000 years old, from ancient Mesopotamia. And when you look at how it's built, it's fascinating. You've got this clay jar, right? And inside that, there's a copper cylinder. And then, inside the copper, there's an iron rod. And the whole thing is sealed up tight with bitumen. This wasn't an accident. This was a purpose-built device, a piece of technology. And here's the kicker. When you fill this little device with something acidic, like grape juice or vinegar, it generates an electrical current. A low-voltage one, but still. That's right, it's a functioning battery. A battery made 1,800 years before Alessandro Volta supposedly invented it. Now, people have guessed what it was for. Maybe electroplating jewelry with gold, maybe even some kind of religious device to create a divine tingle. But the real mystery, the one that keeps you up at night, is this. If they had electricity, why did it just disappear? Why was this incredible knowledge lost to time? All right, so we've seen a simple battery. Now let's ramp up the complexity. I mean, exponentially. Our next piece of evidence was found in a shipwreck, and for decades, everyone just thought it was a corroded lump of rock. But what it turned out to be was the world's very first analog computer. This is the Antikythera Mechanism. It was pulled from an ancient shipwreck off the coast of Greece, and it dates back to around 200 BCE. Now, on the left, that's what it looked like when they found it, a green, crusty mess. But then, they hit it with X-rays, and on the right, you see its mind-blowing secret. A system of at least 30 intricate interlocking bronze gears. It was basically a shoebox-sized computer from ancient Greece. And what could this clockwork of the cosmos do? Well, hold on to your hats. It could perform absolutely staggering calculations. It predicted the positions of the sun and the moon. It tracked lunar phases. It could even tell you when the next eclipse was going to happen with incredible accuracy. It even tracked things like the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. I mean, this required a level of mathematical and astronomical understanding that is just off the charts for that time period. But here's where the story goes from amazing to downright impossible. This level of engineering, this kind of miniature, complex gearing, it completely disappears from the historical record. It doesn't show up again for over 1,000 years, until the massive cathedral clocks in the Middle Ages. Think about that gap. That's 1,000 years of technological silence. It's literally like finding a Ferrari engine at a Roman chariot race. So you have to ask, was this the work of some 1 in a billion genius way ahead of his time? Or, and this is the big one, was it the last surviving piece of an entire field of engineering that was just lost? And believe it or not, the evidence doesn't stop there, not even close. If ancient batteries and computers weren't enough to blow your mind, our gallery of anomalies also has impossible maps and what looks suspiciously like blueprints for ancient flying machines. Yeah, you heard me right. This is where it gets even weirder. Okay, check this out. This is the Piri Reis Map, drawn in 1513. For its time, it's amazingly accurate, showing the coasts of South America. But that's not the mystery. The real mystery is down at the very bottom. It seems to show the coastline of Antarctica. The problem? Antarctica wasn't officially discovered for another 300 years. And it gets even crazier. It appears to show the coast without its massive ice cap. So the question that just hangs in the air is, where on earth did Piri Reis get his source maps from? Who was mapping an ice-free Antarctica thousands of years ago? All right, now let's hop over to ancient Colombia, or in the year 1000. A culture called the Quimbaya made these little gold figurines. Officially, archaeologists call them zoomorphic, which is just a fancy word for shaped like an animal, probably a bird or an insect. But I want you to look closer. Really look. Do you see a bug? Or do you see a machine? Look at those delta-shaped wings, that fuselage, that vertical tail fin. Those aren't features you find on a beetle. Those are the hallmarks of modern aircraft design. The thing is, the resemblance was so striking that some modern engineers just had to know. So they built bigger, radio-controlled models based on these exact designs to see if they were aerodynamic. And the result? They flew. They flew perfectly. So what are we looking at here? Is it just a one-in-a-million artistic coincidence? Or is it possible that these ancient people actually understood the principles of flight? So let's step back for a second. When you put all of these pieces together, an ancient battery, a sophisticated computer, impossible maps, and potential flying machines, these things don't just poke a few holes in our accepted timeline of history. No, these suggest the entire timeline is built on a faulty foundation. And that leads us to a completely new way of looking at our own past. The story we're usually told is what you could call the myth of linear progress. You know, a nice, neat, steady climb from simple to complex. But these artifacts, they tell a totally different story. A cyclical reality. A version of history that isn't a straight line, but a wave. It suggests there were these incredible high points, peaks of amazing technological achievement that were followed by some kind of collapse or catastrophe. A great forgetting, where knowledge was lost, forcing humanity to start all over again, rediscovering things our ancestors might have taken for granted. So where does that leave us? What does this all mean for who we are and where we came from? It suggests that our true history is, well, it's a lot grander and more mysterious than we ever imagined. It suggests we have a legacy of lost greatness, a past that we're only now beginning to piece back together from the shadows. Maybe, just maybe, our ancient ancestors were way smarter and more advanced than mainstream history wants to admit. All this evidence seems to be pointing in one direction, that real technology is much, much older than we think, and that human history is infinitely more complex and amazing than what you'll find in a textbook. It's possible that we, you and I, are the descendants of a forgotten golden age. Look, these artifacts are just the pieces of the puzzle that we've found so far, fished out of the ocean or pulled from dusty museum archives. And they force us to end with one final and kind of thrilling question. If these are the things that managed to survive, what other incredible secrets are still out there, buried under the sand or lost in the deep, just waiting to be found and to rewrite the story of us once and for all?